I am not going to mince words with you today because what we are seeing right now, what has just come across the wire in the last few minutes, is something that should shake every single American to their very core. And I mean that sincerely. I mean that from the bottom of my heart, because we are talking about the release of Dataset 8 from the Jeffrey Epstein files. And let me tell you, the information contained in there regarding the President Donald Trump is not just disturbing, it is dark, it is dangerous, and it paints a picture of a man who has absolutely no business being anywhere near the Oval Office ever again. Welcome back to I Am Your Host. Now look, I need you to do me a favor, a big favor. I need you to go ahead and click that subscribe button down there, not for me, but for the truth, because we are in a battle for the soul of this nation, and we need everyone on board to make sure the facts get out there. So please join us and let's get into this. Here's the deal, folks. For a long time, we have heard the rumors, we have heard the stories about Palm Beach in the 90s, about the parties, about the plane rides, and for a long time, Donald Trump has tried to brush it off. He has tried to say, I barely knew the guy, or I wasn't really friends with him, but these new documents, this Dataset 8, it puts the lie to all of that. It shows a relationship that was deep, it was personal, and quite frankly, it was sickening, because you don't spend that much time with a man like Jeffrey Epstein unless you are comfortable with what he is doing, unless you are willing to look the other way, or worse, participate. And that is what we have to talk about today. We have to talk about the character of the man who wants to be your commander-in-chief again. My father used to say, Joey, show me your friends and I will tell you who you are. Well, look at the friends, look at the company he kept. We are seeing logs, we are seeing testimony, we are seeing specific dates and times that place Donald Trump in the middle of a web of exploitation that is hard to even stomach reading about. And I have read a lot of intelligence briefings in my time. I have seen a lot of bad things in this world, but the sheer depravity, the sheer lack of moral compass that is on display in these files is something else entirely. It is a stain on our history that a former president is mixed up in this kind of malarkey. And it is not just malarkey, it is criminal behavior. Potentially, it is certainly moral bankruptcy, you know. I often talk about the inflection point we are facing in this country, and this is it. This is the moment where we have to decide, do we care about decency? Do we care about the safety of our children? Do we care about the rule of law, or are we going to let a man who treats women like property, who treats the law like a nuisance bully his way back into power? The details in Dataset 8 are specific. They talk about the recruitment of young women. They talk about the parties at Mar-a-Lago, which apparently was a hunting ground for Epstein and his associates. And Trump was right there, the owner of the club, the man in charge, the guy who knew everything that happened under his roof. You can't tell me he didn't know. Folks, come on, don't insult our intelligence. He knew exactly who Epstein was. He said it himself in that magazine interview back in 2002. He said Epstein likes them on the younger side, and he joked about it. He thought it was funny. Well, nobody is laughing now, certainly not the victims, certainly not the families whose lives were destroyed by this predator and his enablers. And that is the key word, enablers, because Donald Trump was an enabler. He gave Epstein credibility. He gave him social standing. He invited him to the parties. He took pictures with him, smiling, giving the thumbs up. And now that the truth is coming out, he wants you to believe it is a deep state conspiracy. He wants you to believe that the FBI and the DOJ are making this up to stop him from winning an election. Well, let me tell you something. The FBI didn't write those flight logs. The DOJ didn't force him to hang out with a sex trafficker. He did that all on his own. He made those choices, and now he has to live with the consequences, or at least he should have to live with the consequences in a just world. But we know how he operates. He denies, he deflects, he attacks. He will come out and say that I am the one behind this, that I am pulling the strings, which is absolute nonsense. I don't control the courts. I don't control the independent release of civil lawsuit documents. These are coming from the victims fighting for justice, not from the White House, but he doesn't care about the truth. He cares about survival. He cares about staying out of prison, and he cares about power. That is all it is ever about with him, power and ego. Think about the message this sends to the world. Think about what our allies must be thinking when they see these headlines, when they see that the former leader of the free world is implicated in one of the darkest sex trafficking rings in history. It is embarrassing. It weakens us. It makes us look small. And we are not a small nation. We are a great nation. We are a nation of good people, of decent people who work hard and play by the rules. And we deserve a leader who does the same. Not a guy who thinks the rules don't apply to him. Not a guy who thinks he can grab whatever he wants, whenever he wants. The historical context here is important too, because this didn't happen in a vacuum. The 80s and 90s in New York and Palm Beach were a time of excess. A time of greed is good, and Trump was the poster boy for that era. He was the guy on the golden toilet telling everyone how rich he was while his businesses were going bankrupt and while he was stiffing contractors. And now we know he was also hanging out with monsters. And I don't use that word lightly. Epstein was a monster, and Ghislaine Maxwell was a monster. And anyone who helped them, who covered for them, who partied with them while they were victimizing children is complicit in my book. Maybe not legally complicit in every case, but morally complicit, absolutely. And the conspiracy theories, oh, you're going to hear them. You're going to hear that this is a distraction from the economy or from the border or from whatever else they want to talk about, but don't fall for it, folks. This is not a distraction. This is the main event. This is about the character of the person who holds the nuclear codes. Character is on the ballot. It is always on the ballot, and you can't separate the man from the policy. You can't say, well, I like his tax cuts, so I will ignore the fact that he was pals with a pedophile. That is not how it works. You settle for that, and you lose the soul of the country. You lose the very thing that makes America America. I remember when I was a kid in Scranton, and my mom would tell me, Joey, nobody is better than you, but you are no better than anybody else. That is the American creed: equality, dignity, respect. But Trump doesn't believe that. He believes some people are better. He believes rich guys like him and Epstein were entitled to do whatever they wanted to, whoever they wanted, and if you got in their way, they would crush you, they would sue you, they would ruin your reputation. Well, now, the facts are out, the documents are unsealed, and the ink is dry, and it tells a story of corruption and depravity that is hard to comprehend. We have to look at the legal implications here, too, because while a lot of this happened a long time ago, there is no statute of limitations on the truth. And if there are crimes that can still be prosecuted, they should be. Justice must be blind. It cannot see title or wealth or political party. If Donald Trump broke the law, if he participated in these crimes, he should face a jury of his peers just like anyone else. No one is above the law, not the president, not the former president, nobody. That is the bedrock of our democracy. And if we chip away at that, if we say, well, he is too powerful to prosecute, or it is too political to hold him accountable, then we don't have a democracy anymore. We have a kingdom, and we fought a war a long time ago to say we don't want a king. The psychological aspect of this is also worth looking at, because what kind of man surrounds himself with people like this? What is the void inside of him that he needs this kind of validation, this kind of sordid company? It speaks to a deep insecurity, a deep flaw in his makeup, and we saw that every day he was in the White House, the need for praise, the need to be the center of attention, the cruelty, the bullying, it all stems from the same place. And these files just confirm what we already knew in our gut, that there is something missing in him, something broken. And you can't fix that with an election. You can't fix that with a rally. The impact on the victims cannot be overstated either. Imagine being one of those young women, now grown women, seeing this news, seeing the man who was there, the man who laughed with your abuser, running for president again, receiving standing ovations, hearing crowds chant his name. It must be re-traumatizing. It must be a nightmare. And we owe it to them to listen to their stories, to believe them, and to make sure that justice is served, however late it may be. And let's be clear, this is not just about the past. It is about the future. Because if we elect a man with this kind of baggage, with this kind of vulnerability to blackmail, think about that for a second. Blackmail, do you think foreign intelligence agencies don't have this information? Do you think Putin doesn't know? Do you think the Chinese don't know? Of course they do. And that makes him a security risk. It makes him compromised. A president who can be blackmailed is a danger to every single one of us. So this is not just about morality. It is about national security. It is about protecting the country from threats, both foreign and domestic. The media has a role to play here too, and I hope they do their job. I hope they don't just cover the horse race. I hope they dig into these files and report the facts without fear or favor. Because for too long, Trump has been graded on a curve for too long. His behavior has been normalized as just Trump being Trump. Well, this isn't just Trump being Trump. This is Trump being involved in one of the most heinous criminal enterprises of our time. And we cannot normalize that. We cannot shrug our shoulders and move on. We have to face it head on. I know people are tired. I know people are exhausted by the drama and the chaos, and I get it. I really do. You just want to pay your bills and raise your kids and have a nice life. You don't want to think about Jeffrey Epstein or Donald Trump or flight logs, but we don't have the luxury of looking away, because if we look away, the darkness grows, the corruption spreads, and before you know it, you wake up in a country you don't recognize. A country where might makes right and the weak are prey for the strong, and that is not the America. I know that is not the America I love. We are better than this. We are so much better than this, and we have to prove it. We have to prove it at the ballot box, yes, but we also have to prove it in our daily lives by standing up for what is right, by calling out wrong when we see it, by refusing to accept the unacceptable. This data set 8 is a wake-up call. It is a fire bell in the night, and we need to answer it. We need to say enough is enough. We are done with the lies. We are done with the corruption. We are done with the darkness. We are ready for the light. My dad used to say, the only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing. Well, we have a lot of good men and women in this country, and we cannot do nothing. We have to act. We have to speak up. We have to demand accountability. So as you read these headlines, as you see the spin coming from the other side, remember what is at stake. Remember who is at the center of this. It is Donald Trump, the man who wants to be your president, the man who claims to be the savior of the country. Well, you can't save the country if you are drowning in a swamp of your own making. And this is a swamp, folks, a deep, dark, smelly swamp of sin and corruption. I want to end on a note of hope, though, because I do believe in this country. I do believe in the resilience of the American people. We have been through tough times before, we have faced crises before, and we have always come out stronger on the other side. And I believe we will come out of this stronger too, but only if we face the truth, only if we have the courage to look in the mirror and clean up the mess. So don't lose faith, don't get cynical. That is what they want. They want you to think everybody is corrupt, so you just stay home. Don't give them that satisfaction. Get engaged, get active, fight for the truth, because the truth matters, decency matters, and America matters. God bless you all, and may God protect our troops.